Well, let's take a closer look at that SONA. President Cyril Ramaphosa has vowed to ensure that 2 million young people are employed in the next 10 years. He was speaking in Parliament yesterday during his first State of the Nation address ahead of the 6th administration. Currently, unemployment stands at over 27.6%. Young people constitute over 50% of the unemployed population. To discuss training opportunities for the unemployed, we're now joined in studio by PK Naicker, who's the General Manager, Strategy Planning and Reporting from the Fibre Processing and Manufacturing Sector Education and Training Authority, SETA. Thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Peter. Good evening to you and good evening to the viewers.
All right, so you listened to the speech yesterday, and
yes.
When he said 2 million jobs, your ears must have perked up quite a bit and thought, can we really do this? Is that a question you asked yourself, or you says, yes, we can?
I'm sure we can. I'm very positive about the SONA address by the President. I think he has got a great vision. He is very positive. He has really gripped the nation in terms of his address. And I think it's very possible, obviously it's very much aligned to all the various government strategies like the National Development Plan, the Vision of 2030, the Youth Employment Services, the outcomes of obviously the Skills Summit. So there are very firm strategies, including obviously the National Skills Development Strategy, which is at its tail end now to be replaced by the National Skills Development Plan. And in terms of the various outcomes and the strategic objectives of all of those strategies, I'm sure it will culminate into tangible employment opportunities for our youth, going forward.
So, you know what, you've mentioned this Skills Development Plan, which is going to become a national development program going forward. Let's measure how we've done based on the Skills Development Plan. Has it trained and delivered skills that have become employable? Because that will give us a clue whether this 2 million can actually be reached.
Absolutely. When we're looking at employable skills, obviously it all starts off from the occupational development programs and the occupational qualifications. And many of them have been reviewed and updated, in terms of QCTO requirements. They are fit for purpose, they're very current, they're very relevant. They would lead to, obviously, a number of jobs that would become available. It leads to direct jobs when people are trained on these programs. So basically what we are saying is that in terms of the various strategies that we have in place, we are very positive that what the President had stated yesterday, I'm sure that would materialize in the medium to long term.
All right, let's talk a little bit in your SETA, where you're focused. Young people are the issue, they're the most unemployed and the most vulnerable. How do we address A, getting them trained, and B, getting them jobs? Because in the end, actually, the training's great, but if you don't become employed, then you're sitting at home even more frustrated.
Absolutely. What we don't want to do is that we don't want to train for unemployment. We want our current focus is to ensure that we are training for employability. For example, at the FP&M SETA, obviously we address the strategic objectives of the skills development mandate and strategy. In terms of that, we have various funding windows or funding opportunities and grants that we make available to the youth and to learners. So basically what happens is that we go out, we undertake obviously vocational and career guidance with various schools. We participate in various events to ensure that we are propagating and advocating, jobs and occupations in demands where there would be employment opportunities, so that our learners obviously will get first, bite in terms of ensuring that they apply for those jobs. What I would also like to state is that what needs to happen is that our learners need to become more aware of the mandate of SETAs and what SETAs do. For example, if you look at 2019-20, in terms of our strategic plan and our APP, we have over 6,000 grant funding opportunities for training. And then learners need to obviously become more competitive. They need to understand where they need to study going forward. They need to look at what is known as future and emerging skills. They need to align themselves to what the president was talking about in terms of the fourth industrial revolution. Those are the skills that are going to become relevant and that are going to be in demand and in need going forward.
Okay,
so,
well, let's talk about your CETA, because I think clarity is probably most important. So I'm a company, I register with the CETA.
Yes.
I then pay subscriptions to the CETA.
That is correct.
And my employees, I can then send to you for various training, or you assist us with developing various training programs. How does it work so that I can get to where I want to get to in terms of these young people getting employed?
Absolutely. What happens is that we have what is known as constituent levy-paying companies. Obviously, they contribute to the skills levy, they contribute to the levy income of the FP&M CETA. So many of these organizations would employ to train both the employed and the unemployed learners. Obviously, we have various funding, vehicles, funding windows that they would apply for. Those would entail things, training interventions like your apprenticeships, learnerships, work-integrated learning, work experience, etc. So there are various funding mechanisms that they would apply for. Then what would happen would be some of these organizations or these large employers, they would put adverts out in the newspapers, to which obviously our learners and our youth obviously need to get access to, and they would advertise for learner positions, learnership positions, or learnership candidates that would apply for those training interventions. And then what we would do is we would register the learners. They would go through a formal program, all right, for a period. We got to ensure, obviously, there's quality to the training that's taking place. So we have a quality assurance division that would quality assure such training. And then when the learners complete those programs, we also give learners an opportunity, and we also give those organizations an opportunity to apply for what is known as work experience internship or work integrated learning grants.
Critical experience.
So what's important is that, we ensure that post the training, the learners are not left unemployed. There is an opportunity for them to gain further experience, on-the-job experience that would lead to permanent employment. So what we also do is that via our agreements, via our MOAs, etc., we try to apply pressure also on companies to ensure that these learners are absorbed. So in terms of, for example, our last research survey, approximately 61% of our learners were absorbed post-training. But not forgetting, we are just one CETA. There are 21 CETAs that represent different industrial subsectors.
All right, so there's young people watching this program right now, and they may have heard of the word CETA for the first time. It's quite possible. So you say there are 21 CETAs in total. How do they engage if they want? They've left school, they've got matric. How do they engage with the CETAs to find a company that's going to train them, that's going to give them this work experience? What's the first thing that they do?
All right. I will advise learners, if they are looking for training opportunities, if they're looking for employment opportunities, what they should be doing is going onto the website, look at the term CETAs. They are Sector Education and Training.
And that's SETA.
SETAs. It's not SI. The other one is the SITA. These are SETA, Sector Education and Training Authorities. We have 21 CETAs. They all have websites. Go into the websites. Many of them have offices throughout the country in the various provinces. They will have the full contact details. They would have email addresses of contact persons. There's regional managers there. You can find out more about the skills strategy. You can find out more about training interventions, etc., if they simply just log on to a website. Many of them, many learners I know through the schools, etc., would have access to the internet. Even through your phones these days, you're getting access to the internet. So they just need to Google CETAs and see what the various opportunities are. And, what I must say that during our time, we never had sector education training authorities in place. So learners have now got more support in place to ensure that they're training jobs where there's demand and they get employment going forward.
All right, and well, thanks so much indeed, Mr. Naicker, for joining us. I think we're going to have ongoing conversations just to point our young people in the right directions. But thanks so much for giving us a heads up of where to start and the kinds of initiatives that are out there to help our young people. Thanks so much indeed for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate the invite, and I'd just like to say that obviously you, Peter, and ourselves, we have engaged previously,
yes,
and you know the work of the FP&M CETA. Recently in March, we were awarded the Best CETA Award, and we have a very dynamic leader in the CEO, Ms. Feleng Yende. She was recognized as the most outstanding individual in skills development by our Honorable Minister at that point in time, Dr. Pandor. So we thank you for the opportunity, and we need to expose the strategy more. We need learners to be exposed to basically the various opportunities that will be out there for them going forward.
Congratulations on your award. Keep up the high standards. Thank
you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Well.